All right, welcome back to the weekly RedFOX Labs AMA. I'm Lenny Clifford and joining me is Benny Fairbank, the co-founder and CEO. Let's get into it. How is life, Benny?
Yeah, very good. It's obviously been a very interesting week, hasn't it? So, but always good and always focused and plugging on.
Yeah, sure. I guess we should start off with what's happening in the market. That's what's on everyone's minds at the moment. We'd love to get some of your wisdoms, Ben. How many market cycles have you been in?
Quite a few, but it's always very difficult to tell whether or not you've got. I mean, we're still showing all the same fundamentals. Everything's recovering fast, but you never know whether it's you never know which direction the market's headed. It's a matter of just plugging on and continuing building quality products, and then trying to, as fast as you can, get to a point where that becomes less of a factor.
I guess looking at the way the market is at the moment, it doesn't fit the definition of roughly what is a bear market, a decline of over 20% for more than 2 months. And there's a whole lot of other indicators. There's a lot of analysts, for example, Willie Woo, Kathy Wood, they're all saying it's a bull market still. Max Kaiser's even saying it'll hit all-time high by early June. But on the other hand, there are plenty of trusted analysts saying that it's a bear market right now. And I'm sure Peter Schiff is loving life. So whatever the situation, though, we all know that a bear market will come at some stage. And in this case, why would that change anything for RedFOX Labs when it comes to your overall plans?
It doesn't change anything as far as the product building and the venture rollouts. Nothing changes at all. We remain focused, and we started with the end in mind, and that's where we'll end up. So for us, fundamentally, it doesn't change anything at all. But as far as the analysts, who knows? I mean, they're always going to hedge their bets. It's either the recovery and continuation of the bull run or a sucker's rally. So we'll find out in the next few days what that is. But ultimately speaking, it's a very different market than it was in the last cycle back in 2017, and dips and decoupling with the USD with the stablecoin pairs. It's a very, very different market. So I think anybody who tells you categorically they know what's happening is probably full of it.
We should also remember that FUD and media and Musk, they can change market sentiment, but they can't change fundamentals. What can change fundamentals though?
I mean, obviously, regulation. Legislation can change fundamentals depending on what the product or the project's plans are and how they plan to implement it. We've been pretty careful in our planning and making sure that we're A, compliant, but also B, still being able to push envelopes. So ultimately, fundamentally, I don't see that much can change our plan. But as far as the wider space is concerned, there's a lot of projects that have had to completely pivot from what they were doing to what they are doing due to regulations and legislation.
Okay, so I'm not asking for financial advice at all, but most people got wrecked over the last week, and I'm sure you've experienced this at some stage in the cycles that you've experienced. So how did you react, and what did you learn, and what do you do when you're faced with challenging situations like this?
I think it's always important to reassess. I think what the markets taught us a long time ago, and with the decoupling with USD, with the stablecoin pairs, is you don't play leverage in these types of markets, and you don't try and use margin trading. You just go in with something that you like, and then just keep reassessing constantly to make sure that that you're on top of things and that you're across. Don't ever put in what you can't afford to lose. And ultimately, if everyone's trying to find those diamonds in the rough, and if you can find those few long-term winners, then you're obviously going to end up ahead. But it's not an easy game. Ultimately, that's why we're trying to work so hard to provide value and underpin everything that we do with actual products and services that are for the consumer markets.
All right, so let's move along to what's actually happening with RedFOX Labs at the moment. And something I'm excited about is that staking has just commenced on RFox Finance, and it's something that a lot of people have been waiting for. So can you give us some of the details, how much VFox could we expect to get if we're staking?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, we're just updating the total value locked in the APRs at the moment. That's obviously they're dependent on how much is in the pools, but we're above 35 million in locked value. How the staking pools work is if you lock up VFOX or RFOX, you'll receive VFOX as a reward for both pools. The difference between that and farming is that in farming, you are subject to impermanent loss, meaning that as the prices fluctuate, your holdings differ and change. Whereas in a staking pool, you're actually going to end up pulling out the exact same number of tokens that you put into the pool, plus whatever the reward is. So that APR is going to be dependent on how much is in the pool. So that calculation will be updated today. But ultimately, it is nowhere near as significant a payout as the farming pool, but the risk is reduced greatly as well. So ultimately, it's around about that 15 to 20% mark of what you would get in a staking pool.
Okay, so you just have to get in there and check it at the time to see what that is.
Correct.
All right. And the land sale, that's been pushed back to June, right?
Yes. So what we did was we decided that, as stated, I think it was about a week ago, that we wanted to give this a bit more of a marketing rev and push. So for that to happen and to work with some of the agencies we're now working with, which we're extremely excited to work with, that's a slightly longer rollout because we want to make sure that it's got world-class ads and we want to make sure the materials and the paraphernalia is all world-class, and it gives us longer time to be able to roll out the marquee clients and to be able to sort of announce to the market who they are as well. So that gives us that little bit of extra traction. So I think we've also been sort of given a little bit of a reprieve because of the fact that the timing was very good for that. So I think it's going to work out very well for the RFOX holders and also for the people wanting to participate in the sale.
Yeah, that's great to see this progress. You're still growing despite what's happening out of the market. You're still growing, you're still recruiting, and I know that there are several roles at the moment that you're recruiting for. The new RFOX CFO is starting very soon. So you've got your MVP up and running, it's profitable. Now you've got a CFO to take it over to the next level. And what is that next level?
Yeah, so just like every venture under the DBOT model, we actually we put out the MVP, make sure it's got a product market fit, and then we hand it over to a team of people that are much more experienced than we are. So we design it, build it, operate it, and then we transfer it. So now we're in the transfer phase of this venture. So that's exciting because we've gone through RFOX Games as a full rollout and full venture, and that's got 12 plus core members plus all of the contractors it uses, and it is a standalone operation. And now we've got RFOX Finance will be the next fully fledged venture, getting behind it a full team of people. But yes, we've got a couple of key announcements to bring to the public next week.
Okay, that must feel good to see that progressing so well. And how did the burn party go last week?
Yeah, it was good. It was a chance for us to interact with the community, and it was obviously a timely type of party as well, because it means that people can ask as many questions as they like, and there's a lot of people that have never been through any of this stuff before, so it was a good chance for people to ask questions. So we'll do that every Wednesday night and go through the same process. We'll show people the live burn, and then what we'll do is we'll just talk about general events and answer questions.
And just onto some good news that I've seen. It's good because it's fighting the environmental FUD. Michael Saylor, he's just hosted a meeting with Elon Musk and Bitcoin miners of North America and other execs such as Mike Novogratz, and they've agreed to form the Bitcoin Mining Council to promote energy usage, transparency, and accelerate sustainability initiatives worldwide. Their goal is to establish an organisation to standardise energy reporting, pursue industry ESG goals, and educate and grow the marketplace. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think anything that puts an end to negative light and puts the space or the industry in a positive light is obviously a very good thing. And I know that there's a lot of greener or energy efficient chains and tokens that have sort of come out and tried to capitalise on this. And I think ultimately it's just more about awareness, because the interesting part about it was it doesn't matter how long people have been in the space, the amount of misinformation that was thrown around after the allegations was incredible. You could read 3 major publications and they would all say something different as far as environmental factors are concerned. So I think the most important part is to clear up the ambiguity and to make sure that we've got some facts and we can actually make decisions based on data rather than emotions.
Yeah, it's good progress nonetheless. So I hear you often say start with the end in mind. So everything in the middle is just part of the journey, and there are going to be some challenges along the way. So what's your personal focus right now to keep on track towards the end goal?
I think it's this has been a good couple of weeks for us. It's been really, really busy, but it's also really started to highlight where some of the holes are for us as far as skill sets or as far as efficiencies are concerned. So ultimately things can look like they're tracking along beautifully, and then you've got so many moving pieces with brands or clients or partners or technical requirements. So personally, it's just a matter of making sure that we're still focused on getting to that end goal, and then who we need and what we need to be able to get us there. But like you say, the end goal doesn't change. Sometimes the way you get there has to change, and you have to be fluid and liquid and agile. That's the most important part about surviving as a business. But it is brand new tech. We're doing new things in a brand new space. So we remain focused. We remain dedicated to making sure it happens. And there's nothing that we've been shown that has indicated that it can't be done. So we are full steam ahead and just making sure that everybody's focused and on track.
Okay. Thanks so much, Benny. It's time to wrap it up. So good luck to you and the team this week from everyone in the community.
Thanks, mate. Have a good week.